Next up on the Cosmic News Network, First Contact with Joshua Pope.
Good morning, Earthlings. Good. How you doing today? Good. How you doing today? Welcome to First Contact Radio. Welcome to First Contact Radio. To talk about all these things I'm talking about is because in life, everything is energy. Every single thing that's out there.
Yo, it's First Contact with Joshua Pope. He's the man on the mic, just in case you didn't know it. Covering news from all around the globe, from the weather and space to UFOs. We'll talk politics and make you open your eyes. Conspiracy theories and government lies. We'll dig it all up and try to find the proof. Cause it's time to demand the truth. It's time.
First Contact Radio. We have live. First Contact Radio. We have live. First Contact Radio.
It's time to demand
First Contact Radio.
Good morning, Earthlings. How you doing today? Welcome back to First Contact Radio, Thursday, the 25th of February. Right here, sun sign in Pisces. Pisces, a water sign. Lots of emotions that we're dealing with. Emotions push our buttons. Emotions can energize us and send us in very different directions if we allow them to be pushed. We have a air sign in Libra, which is our unconscious mind. Okay, the moon is in Libra, so we're looking to deal and balance things out in our lives. Okay, balancing things out in our lives is important. We have that opportunity. This is very important right here. Listen to this. It's important that we learn to not to say the things that are going to help us in life and take actions that are going to help us. But it is equally as important to make sure we don't say or do the things that are going to hurt us. And oftentimes that's what happens. We say things and we do things. We incriminate ourselves unnecessarily. We do things to hurt ourselves, to sabotage our own efforts. So it's very important that if we're going to balance things out in our life, if we're going to move forward with success, that we are aware of what it is we're saying and doing. Because if we're hurting ourselves by our own words and actions, then what's the point? So we need to be aware, and sometimes we're not aware of that. And oftentimes that comes because our buttons are being pushed in other areas, like our emotions, and then our actions that are taken or our words are stemming from that, from those emotions, from those buttons that get pushed. And so we really need to pay attention to make sure that the balancing that we want to have in our life is the balancing that we need in our lives, that we, the goal, the desired, the end result. And it doesn't come by hurting ourselves, and so we have to be careful. Say the things that are going to help us. Don't say the things that are going to hurt us. We have had one aspect already, 2:05 a.m., and that was between Mercury. Mercury is the communicator, the messenger, and Saturn, focusing, disciplining what it is that we are saying. Okay, kind of like right here, we have to discipline what we're going to say. Discipline the message we're giving so we don't hurt ourselves. So we're saying something that is going to be beneficial. We don't want to play a game. We don't want to use some propaganda. We want to make sure that we're on point with what it is we're doing. In other words, be in integrity. And then this afternoon, 2:17 p.m., Venus, which is imagination. Venus is going to be in a nice good trine with Libra. And that's a good thing. They work together very well, these two. And it wants us to be able to look at the way that we express ourselves in the world. Look at the way in which we are trying to find balance in our lives and use some imagination. Look outside the box. Think a little differently. But there's a nice good opportunity with this trine. So opportunity is all around us. Right? See where everything is in the house. We have all these gathered here. In Pisces, we have the sun, conscious mind. We have Neptune. You need to take things, look at things from a different perspective. When you're in the water, things can be illusionary, so we have to look at things a little bit differently. Here we have Uranus in Aries. Aries, beginning, the leader, unexpected changes, maybe new ways of doing things, changing of the guard, surprises that happen there. Okay, in our material world, deep transformation going on with Pluto here. Our ability to look at the truth. We need to focus and be disciplined. Right here with Scorpio, Mars is injecting energy into that Scorpio region. So Mars energizes the way we look at the world, the life and the death process of the world, the change, the transition. We have an expansion here down in Virgo. We have Jupiter wants to expand those energies outward, expand the physical world, what we're looking at. So it's really not too difficult to look at this chart, Look at the chart. You can get very in-depth if you want. There's plenty of books out there, plenty of brilliant astrologers out there who will help you to understand things on a more intricate level. But you can also look at things from a very basic level, just applying basic keywords to each one of these houses and the symbols. And by doing so, it makes it easy to understand. The moon phase is waning 92.4%, making its way to the new moon on the 8th. The Jewish calendar is a 16 Adar, is the name of the day, 16 Adar. The daily thought is perpetual freedom. No one is free today because of yesterday. Freedom is the force that renews this universe out of the void every day, and every moment is a source of endless energy with infinite possibilities. You are free when you take part in that endlessness, when you stand still, when you are forever escaping the confines of today to create a wide open tomorrow. The Dreamspell Oracle, it's a 3-tone day, 3-tone of activation. The activation of the star, shining our light bright. Free will is above our head there. The guide for today. The monkey teaching us to play with life, play with the illusions of life, because there are a lot of illusions, and if we just get in that playful mindset, it takes us away from the seriousness of everything. And we start to find things operate a little different when we're not so serious. Looking in that mirror at our own reflection, that's the challenge for today. And the Skywalkers are hidden power. So we apply these all to the lesson of the World Bridger. We're exploring the worlds, the line between life and death, that veil that is there. And once we see past it, we're shining bright that which we understand through this process, that life and death are just intertwined. The phrase for today is I activate in order to beautify bonding art. I seal the store of elegance with the electric tone of service. I'm guided by the power of free will. Solar wind is currently at 316.4 kilometers per second. Planetary index, quiet as 1. Might get up to a 2 over the next 24 hours. That large coronal hole is kind of stretched out, spread out. We're still going to be feeling some wind, it says, on the 25th, which is today. M-class flare possibility is at 1%. X-class is also at 1. Geomagnetic storm activity, 15% in the mid latitudes. Upper latitudes looks like we're stable at about 25%, maybe even subsiding a little bit in some ways. So there you go. That's what's going on there. And up in the sky this evening on the 25th, says, have you ever seen Canopus, the second brightest star after Sirius? And one of the many interesting coincidences that devoted skywatchers know about, Canopus lies almost due south of Sirius by 36 degrees. That's far enough south, and it never appears above the horizon unless you're below latitude 37 degrees north. And there you'll need a flat south horizon. Canopus crosses the south point of the horizon just 21 minutes before Sirius does. When to look? Canopus is due south when Beta Canis Majoris, Miserum the announcer, the star, a few fingers width to the right of Sirius, is at its highest point due south. Look straight down from Miserum then. Okay? So we don't have it on this graph here, but You just have the description so you know what's going on, and that is our cosmic weather. So plan accordingly as you go out in the world today. You're dealing with emotions in the conscious mind. So, watch how people respond with the emotion. Sometimes being an observer, you can learn a lot, and just being aware of what's out there pushing people's buttons. So people tend to get emotional, be affected by the things. And so if you're aware of that, you can find out that how to step away from those incidents so you're not caught up in the emotional crossfire. Just remember, balance yourself out. You've got the air, the words and the actions you're taking, so make sure you're thinking before you speak, so you don't say things that are going to hurt you, and you just find ways to take actions and say the things that are going to help you. Very good. Very good. UFO News is up next.
This is the UFO News with Joshua Poet.
All right, Dirk, thank you very much. Today I have 4 stories for you. Story number 1. Orb entity caught on security camera at Russian military base. The object in question says as if the sphere were exploring the space. Just went down a few meters over the water as if the sphere were exploring space. Okay. Tercer Milenio has recently aired a new show showing a series of films that have documented movements of balls of light around the world. One of the most interesting of these recordings took place July 23, 2009 by an infrared camera that was placed outside a Russian secret military base. That evening around 9:30 p.m., a military operator safety officer was monitoring the video surveillance when he noticed the presence of a bright ball of light that slowly descends from the sky. It moved over the surface of the water of the Dai Moskva River, which is right at the base of Amity. The camera follows the bright orb as it moves downward and then follows it as it continues moving. The glowing object seems to be searching for something at the water's surface. You can even see the orb's reflection in the water below it. The reflection is 100% proof that it is close over the water and not far away. Okay, I bet when I push this, it's going to say not available because, oh, look at that, it's available. Usually it doesn't let us see the Tercer Milenio videos. Okay, you could see the camera or the ball of light coming in, and then the reflection of the light in the waters to know how close it is. There's the reflection right there. Okay, very good. Moving on. Next UFO story for today. Here we have a balloon. Here we have an alien drone. Glowing UFO investigates balloon as Skywatcher records it. Jump to the end of the video and you'll see that a person caught an alien drone that decided to check out this balloon. Alien orbs are AI drones, artificial intelligence, that record everything that passes their area. This one slowed down enough to get a fantastic capture of it. It actually is not round, but teardrop shaped with edges, a monumental catch by UFO researcher Maria Auguste. Okay, so this is from LA UFO channel. This is my luck. The perfectly round orb came 3 times. The final time we decided to shut things down and a small orb came into the picture. Here's the breakdown. Amazing capture at an amazing event. This is one of these crazy things that showed up. Okay, it doesn't say where it is. Oh, Los Angeles. Okay, there we go. The ball of light there. Let's see if we can jump ahead to where we see the orb come into picture. Still bouncing around. There's still the ball of light. There we go. There's the little orb right there. I mean the drone. Well, there seems to be something else. This right there, a little darker. Maybe that's a glitch. And then this here. Alright, very interesting. Next, story about Area 51. and a drone. This time we have a UFO enthusiast who flies a drone over Area 51 to see if the truth is out there after all. Han Faulkner certainly thinks so and decided to test his theory by flying a drone over the Area 51, the secret Nevada airbase that has been long associated with rumors of alien activity. It is the place where the U.S. military developed stealth technologies, and the U.S. spy plane and its existence was only acknowledged by the CIA in 2013. But the base has been associated with alien activity ever since physicist Bob Knapp claimed that in the 1980s the alien spaceships were being stored in a mountainside hangar. Since then, it has been a pilgrimage site for UFO enthusiasts, although the closest that the public were able to get is 26 miles away from the mountain range called Tikaboo Peak. It was from this point that Hans Faulkner was able to film his drone footage, although we've gotten little proof of alien life, and instead, faced with panoramic shots of barren deserts. Even so, Faulkner claimed to have been followed by white trucks, which does little to squash the belief for conspiracy theorists. Last December, U.S. presidential candidate Hillary Clinton vowed to send a task force to Area 51 to get to the bottom of UFOs if she is elected in December. The truth, it seems, could still be out there. And if anyone actually believes that Hillary would do this if she got in, I got a bridge to sell you, because Hillary isn't going to do anything. She's all talk, no action, just a politician saying something because she thinks the people in the UFO community aren't very bright, and they're going to say, oh, we want Hillary because she will let us know about these UFOs. Hillary's the one. All right, here's an old story. It goes back to 1942. The Battle of Los Angeles. The Battle of Los Angeles. Now, it was a one-sided battle. Let me read a little bit of this. Sirens made a loud noise in Southern California February 24th, 1942, just months after Japan attacked Pearl Harbor. Becoming a usual happening, people went to the streets to know what was going on and to confirm if it wasn't another false alarm. Nobody could ever imagine what they would have witnessed by then. The U.S. Navy and the Coast Guard had gotten all of their arsenals set for a possible attack in California's sunny shores, and they received a report about a single or multiple aircraft heading for the coast. When the object became closer and visible, it was confirmed not to be a commercial or private aircraft, something they had not seen before. The unidentified flying object was massive. It hovered silently and moved at will. Secretary of the Navy Frank Knox issued a go-ahead assault on the Navy and the Coast Guard and Navy. They started firing at the UFO in the sky around 3 a.m. the morning of the 25th. The military fired more than 1,400 rounds of 12.8-pound anti-aircraft artillery at the mysterious aerial thing from the start of the attack until 4:15. However, the object kept moving from Santa Monica to Long Beach, and it seemed to have no damage at all from the barrage of shells from the military. Among thousands of witnesses were very credible reporters from local newspapers in the area. They saw the bizarre event up close and personal. Strangely, the U.S. military announced later that it could just be a weather balloon. The witnesses did not believe, as they thought it was being maneuvered in ways that no balloon or even known aircraft could do at that time. If the military were telling the truth, the U.S. would not have won any particular war because they could not give any damage to just a weather balloon after firing 1,400 rounds of shells. According to conspiracy theorists, the Battle of L.A. is the first mass UFO sighting ever recorded in the U.S. Okay, there's a link here if we want to see a little bit more about this story. Okay, but what's fascinating about this story, or something just to be aware of, there was never an attack. No craft attacked the United States. The United States was gun shy. They were nervous because of what had happened with Pearl Harbor, understandably so. But now what we understand about Pearl Harbor, it was an event that was a false flag. It was allowed to happen. Sure, people got hurt. False flags don't mean people don't get hurt. False flags mean something happens and is blamed on somebody else. So we know through declassified documents what really happened at Pearl Harbor. It was an event that was allowed to happen in order to get us into the war. See, that's the trick that is used by people on this planet in power. They stage some sort of an event, or they plan some sort of event, and then they blame somebody else for it. And over again, Americans who aren't paying attention, well, they jump right in and say, let's go fight a battle, let's go fight a war. But they don't understand what they're fighting for, and then they get to the place where the war is taking place, and usually what they find out is they've been lied to. And henceforth, we see militaries which have a lot of suicides and a lot of problems that they have, because once the troops get to where they have to be and they found out they've been lied to, well, it's really demoralizing to many of them. And, it's something that we need to wake up and quit getting dragged into these situations. But nonetheless, this was a situation in which for an hour and a half, from 3 to 4:15, our military shot 1,400 rounds, 1,400 shells at this object that did not shoot at them, was not shooting back. So it was an unprovoked attack. They use it as the excuse, well, we knew about Pearl Harbor, and so we have to protect ourselves. But it was an unprovoked attack upon an object in the sky. Just like when we know the story of Phil Schneider, who went down and saw the aliens in the thing and talks about the underground battle. He shot first. And that's the important part that I want to reiterate from one of these stories to the next. We have been the aggressors. We have shot first. We have done the things towards them. And one day, we may be surprised when they decide to smack back, or when E.T. comes down to pick up the ones who crashed. They may be surprised to find out what we've done with them. So we shouldn't get so caught up in the power that be's story, or the military-industrial complex story, that these things are bad and we need to shoot at them. We need to step back and we need to think about what it is we're doing, because we can get dragged into some really awful situations if we follow the wrong people, and if we allow those who are trigger happy to pull us into a situation fighting with someone that we shouldn't be fighting with. Especially if the beings that came aren't looking to cause a fight. They're looking maybe to observe, to understand, maybe even to help. But then again, put yourself in the shoes, if they wear shoes, of the extraterrestrials. If you were on board a ship and you were looking down at a planet and your job was to help them, but you realized that they were very primitive and aggressive and just wanted to shoot you anytime you got close, how long before you realized that you couldn't go down there because there would be too much problems? Because undoubtedly somebody would want to attack you unnecessarily. That's the problem, okay? That's the big problem. We've been the aggressors down here on Earth. We need to take a look at that, and Americans and people on the Earth need to decide, who are you going to side with? Are you going to side with those who are attacking without being provoked? Or are we going to side with those who want to understand something a bit more peaceful? Remember the movie Day the Earth Stood Still? And when Klaatu gets out of the ship and he had this device that would have helped with world peace, the device was destroyed because the trigger-happy military guy shot it and shot Klaatu before he could even present this, just because they were all afraid. Or remember the most recent version, of the X-Files, in the second episode where they see the extraterrestrial crawling away from Roswell and he gets shot? How many of these incidents have happened? Might be more than we realize. So just something to think about. There's definitely a lot more out there going than we realize, and we should be careful about who we decide to jump on board with, because, well, that could be a bad thing if we jump on board with the wrong individuals. I'll be back. This is Confirm or Deny.
I have come here to chew bubblegum and kick ass. all out of bubblegum.
Underground is where they live. In the bases that are secrets live. We're not supposed to know where they come from or where they go. And if you ask our leaders today, this is what they will say. I can neither confirm or deny. I can neither confirm or deny. I can neither confirm or deny. What's up with their lives? Plausible deniability. That's their answer to all we think we see. So pay attention, read between the lines. Changes are happening, revealing lies. And if you ask our leaders today, this is what they will say. I can neither confirm or deny. I can neither confirm or deny. I can neither confirm or deny. What's up with their lies? Now, underground is where they live. In the bases that are secretive. We're not supposed to know where they come from or where they go. And if you ask our leaders today, this is what they will say. I can neither confirm or deny. I can neither confirm or deny. I can neither confirm or deny. What's up with their lives? I can neither confirm or deny. They can neither confirm or deny. It's time for them, confirm or deny. No more secret lies. I don't know about you, but I can't stand it anymore. I know what I saw. You know what you saw. Stand up for yourself. Think for yourself. The truth is out there. No more lies. No more lies.
Right, all right. So you think we'll get to the point wherever we don't have lies? That would be nice, wouldn't it, if we could just all be honest? Unfortunately, those leaders in this country, United States of America, and around the world, they lie. So the examples they set are examples of lying. And we see this over and over and over again. We can see it a lot in this political process that's going on right now. We see one lie after the other. And it's sad that that's where we've gotten to. Just imagine if instead of the lies, if we've been telling the truth to each other for the last 50 years. Just imagine where we might be now. And what if that was part of our agenda? What if we should be further along than we are, but lies have simply kept us back? You know, we could certainly be in a whole different state, a whole different place, but we've allowed this. And it seems as if there is an awakening going on. It does indeed, because there are many individuals that I hear talking about subjects that they have never talked about before, or addressing issues that they haven't addressed before, which is a good thing. It's a very, very good thing. So, you know, I hope it continues. I think it will continue. I think people are tired of what's going on. I find this process of this current political system very fascinating because it is a process that is waking people up. And what Donald Trump has going on, it seems to be a unique situation. I can't remember a time when there's been this much excitement around one individual, these many people gathering around. And so there definitely seems to be an awakening going on. People are asking more questions, thinking things a little bit differently, thinking outside of the box, wanting to have more truth, and that's important. You know, we've been lied to for such a long time that we don't necessarily even know what the truth is anymore. And when those individuals who are out there seeking the truth present what they found, we live in a backwards world that instantly wants to ridicule those individuals for doing exactly that. You know, how the word conspiracy theory has been thought of to be some bad word. You know, someone who's analyzing the truth shouldn't be considered to be doing something bad. They should be applauded for that. And we have a backwards system, but it seems that those who are trying to squash that are the powers that be. And that has been the problem. You know, we see that there's a continual battle going down here on Earth between light and dark, between good and evil. And the ones who are evil, they have no remorse about walking over and stepping on the ones who are good. They have zero remorse for that at all. So it's important that we're aware of this and we don't become so naive that we allow ourselves to be walked upon, because I don't believe that is part of the process. I believe that we have within us the ability to stand up, and I believe that light is more powerful than the dark. I believe that love is stronger than hate, and peace is preferable to war. And all of these situations can occur, but we need to be willing to embrace such things. Now, over the course of this week, I've been bringing information together as part of a puzzle because, as I said, if the information being presented isn't leading someplace, then what's the point? Do I have an agenda? Oh, yes, I do. So if somebody questions whether I have an agenda, it says, oh, he has an agenda when he's doing a show. You know what? I do have an agenda. My agenda is to make sure that you have pieces of a puzzle that aren't normally put out to you, because there's a big, big puzzle, a big problem going on. So all of this week we've been looking at, and last week through the non-commodity, we've been looking at information that isn't normally presented to the public. And because it's something not normally presented, it's going to meet with its certain degree of ridicule, because that's what happens when people are confronted with information that they haven't been told by the powers that be. They haven't been told how to think. And when somebody presents information to those individuals, at first it's a shock to the system, because people are so conditioned to only parrot back what they've been told, to repeat what they've been told, how to think. And, you know, slowly but surely we're getting past that. So the biggest lies, I believe, have to do with our Creator, who created us, how we got here, where we're living. We get caught up in all the little nonsense and the little dramas here on Earth. But those are simply little dramas. All the wars and the battles and the infighting, that's been going on for a long, 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 long time. That's not the issue. Okay? We have to step away from that to see the bigger issue. The bigger issue, as I believe, is that where we came from has been hidden from us. And so since we don't know where we've come from, we're in a state of ignorance. We know the story from the Nag Hammadi, from Yeshua, about Yaldabaoth, and Yaldabaoth being the error, and Yaldabaoth creating the material world that we are in, and this particular system that we're living in. But Yaldabaoth was ignorant, because Yaldabaoth was kept from the knowledge of the Father, kept from understanding the knowledge of where he came from. And that's the same problem we're going through. But we have the opportunity, because of what Yeshua did, because of all of the information that the wise adepts and teachers have brought to this planet over the years, we have the opportunity to step past the ignorance of not knowing into the world of knowing. And then we have a choice to make on which way are we going to go? What are we going to believe? There's no denying that we live in a world of duality, a world of good and evil. All of these things exist. And we need to look at all these things that exist because they're very, very, very much a part of who we are and what we're about. You see, I bring this graphic up often because this is not normally described to us. Okay, this is the world and the realm of the immortals. The realm of the immortals is the place where the mother and the father exist. The source of this fountain of life that flows or emanates through all things. The source of life that created the spark of the divine autogens Christ that flows through all things. We have these multiple realms of creation, of these lights that came forth from the Christ. Therefore, all things flow from the Christ. Nothing can be without that because this is the source of water, of life that flows through it. One cannot separate themselves from the Christ any more than a drop of water can be anything other than a drop of water, a drop of a larger body. So we have a realm here, an immortal realm, that consists of many, many, many different realms. So we're here on the earth, and we're told and we understand stories about my father's house has many mansions. But we don't normally think about what that is. We hear the term heavens with an S, but we don't normally think about what that means because we're taught only to think about this system here and that there's one heaven. But in reality, what we've learned from the Nag Hammadi is that's not accurate, that there's a lot more that's out there. And so when we pay attention to all of the more that's out there, when we are aware of that, it helps us to see. So we have the Nag Hammadi, which has clued us in to let us know that the creator of this reality was ignorant of his place of origin. He was ignorant of the Father that flowed through his being, and therefore what he created was created with that same sense of ignorance. But because of the mercy of the Father, that there was an opportunity for all of the beings that were created that were in a state of ignorance to move past that ignorance to know what was going on. There was an opportunity for Yaldabaoth to move past his state of ignorance and know what was going on, because the Father did appear, the Mother did appear to Yaldabaoth to let him know. And at that moment of time, when Yaldabaoth could have moved from ignorance into understanding, Yaldabaoth chose to be arrogant and jealous. And therein lies the problem, because we go through the Bible and we find stories of a jealous God. And that's not a good thing. If we think in life, when we know somebody that's jealous, we understand that we need to be aware of what that person is doing, because sometimes a jealous person might have intentions and thoughts that aren't very productive and positive to who we are and what we're about. So we need to look at things like this. So when we have the Nag Hammadi, which tells us over and over and over again, from the Apocryphon of John to the Apocalypse of Adam to the Steles of Seth to the Gospel of Truth to Origins of the World, we have stories that tell the same story of a being that came and created this world, but this being was in ignorance. The being didn't understand. So here we are in this reality, and this reality was created by this being in ignorance. But because this being was in ignorance, because this being did not have any special powers of its own, all it could do was make a copy of what it understood. So this realm that we are in, this material realm, this visible world, it was created simply as a copy of what Yaldabaoth knew from his time in the immortal realms. So we have here a counterfeit version. So whatever this is, it's a counterfeit of what is out there. So what exists here is just one of many. Now, when we go through the readings of the Nag Hammadi and it talks about these immortal realms, one of the terms it uses over and over and over again is firmament, that each one of these realms had its own firmament. So in that regard, I brought up the word firmament a couple days ago for you to understand, and it says right here, if we could look, the firmament is the structure above the atmosphere, conceived as a vast, solid dome. According to the Genesis creation narrative, God created the firmament to separate the waters above from the waters below the earth. So we have a dome, okay? So through understanding of the Nag Hammadi, there are these multiple realms. Each had a dome. So dome cities, seems that there's a multiple amount of domed cities that existed out in the great cosmos that exists. And this one is a counterfeit of that. So the question is, what exactly do these domes look like? What exactly is the world that we live in look like? And these are the various examples that have been given over time. Okay, I've shown you these. You should be aware of these by now. But every major religion believed that we lived in a system that had a dome over it, and that was a flat plane. Okay, these are images that go back a long way. Here's even an image of someone looking outside of the dome to see something else existing outside of it. Okay, this was the conception of the world that we live in for a long time. Now, when did that change? That changed during the Renaissance period. Who were the characters involved? Those involved with Masonry, the Masons, the Jesuits, the Illuminati, a select group of individuals who were working with science to tell us that Earth was not what we think it is, that Earth isn't flat. In essence, saying every religion, everyone up to that point in time for thousands and thousands of years was wrong, that they were right. And even though they couldn't prove what they said, they knew that they had enough influence that all they had to do was say it and use that propaganda and people would believe it. But we can go out and we can look at the world with our own eyes and we can see that the world is not the way that has been described. The world is the way that the ancients described it over and over and over again. Most recently, we've been going through the book of Enoch. And the book of Enoch really gets into this description of the earth. Yesterday we went through this whole second section here, and some of the things that we've come upon through the course of this. Let me jump through where I can find some real quick ones here. Is the firmness of the earth. Here we go. I saw the treasuries all the winds. I saw how he had furnished them with a creation and the firm foundations of the earth. And I saw the cornerstone of the earth. Well, firm is the opposite of moving. We're told, not only through the book of Enoch, but through various other spiritual books and religious books and prophetic books, we're told, and esoteric books, we're told that the earth is firm. But we have Masons and Jesuits and Illuminati, a group of them who said, oh no, it's round, it spins at 1,000 miles an hour. But that's not what we've been told through all of these books. We're also told here that there's a cornerstone, a corner, but we don't have corners on a globe. The globe that is here is round. That's different. A round globe doesn't have corners. There's also terms in here about going to the end of the earth. Here we go a little further. It says, I saw the winds of the heaven which turn and bring the circumference of the sun and the stars to their setting. I saw the paths of the angels. I saw at the end of the earth. Okay? How do you see the end of the earth on a globe? You can't. So I saw at the end of the earth the dome of the heaven above. So, very, very fascinating. There's something more that's out there. And when we take the stories from Scripture and the Bible and all these religious books and the book of Enoch, we start to see that there is something more than meets the eye. Something that we should be understanding about our system. Well, here is a here is a study that has been done that is really very fascinating. And this is Rob Skiba's interpretation of what he believes the system is like based upon the reading of the book of Enoch. Okay, first we have the image, the Hebrew conception of the world, flat earth with a dome over it, the waters above, the waters below. Everything is separated here. And then it says, let me read some of these things here. It says, in the beginning God created the heaven and the earth, but when the earth did not come into sight, he was covered with thick darkness, and a wind moved upon its surface. God commanded that there should be light, and when that was made, he considered the whole mass, and separated the light and the darkness. And the name he gave, one was night and the other day. And then he named the beginning of the light, and the time of rest, the evening and the morning, and this was indeed the first day. But Moses said it was one day, the cause of which I am able to give even now. But because I have promised to give such reasons for all things in a treatise by itself, I shall put off its exposition till that time. After this, on the second day, he placed a heaven over the whole world, and separated from it the other parts, and he determined it should stand by itself. He also placed a crystalline firmament round it, and put it together in a manner agreeable to the earth, and fitted it for giving moisture and rain, and affording the advantage of dews. As we go through here in the deliverance of Noah from the book of Enoch, chapter 89, again I raised mine eyes towards heaven and saw a lofty roof. Okay, with 7 water torrents, and those torrents with much water into an enclosure. So as we go through and we read through, there's terms of the enclosure. So that gives us a different perspective. Circuits of heaven show how things were moving around there. The vault of heaven, a ceiling. We know vault means ceiling. Saw 4 angels standing at the corners of the earth. Now here we have an ancient image, picture that somebody thought how the earth looked. So what we have here is a very fascinating 3D model interpretation that has been created here. And as you go through this and you scroll down and the walls of this are removed, and you can see this is what we ultimately have. A domed city sitting on 4 pillars. Okay. And along with this is a really great video here that explains all of this in detail. This itself is a video that's just 28 minutes in length. However, there is one that is much longer. It's like, I think, an hour and 45 minutes. And I would suggest that you take the time out to watch these if this is a subject that interests you, because this is really an interesting interpretation. It gives you an opportunity to think about things a little differently than what we're told. Because in my opinion, the biggest conspiracy we have is the conspiracy to hide God. Because if we've been led to believe that the creator of this reality, of this world, and if this is it, the creator of this world is the fallen one, the one in ignorance. And we've been led to believe that this is the be-all, end-all God, but that's not the truth. And that's what Jesus came to show us. That was part of his mission. And there's no time that I can recall where you hear Jesus talking about God as Yahweh or Jehovah or any of those names. Jesus, as far as I'm aware, only refers to God as the mother or the father or the all-parent, because Jesus understood the Spirit. And the mission of Jesus was to let us know that the Spirit that flows through us is the one that is the dominant spirit. It's the spirit that animates all things with life. And so here we are, potentially beings living in a terrarium in these bodies that were created to trap this spirit of God, this invisible spirit, to trap it so that it could do the bidding of the being who had trapped all of the creatures in this terrarium. I think it's a very fascinating story, and it helps us to understand something about ourselves. And I think it's something that we should all be looking to understand, because what bigger conspiracy or what bigger understanding is out there than truly understanding who our Creator is? Because if our Creator isn't Yaldabaoth or Yahweh, if our Creator, the creative spirit, is something else, then we should know that. Now, we can't necessarily just take the baby and throw it out with the bathwater, because obviously Yahweh had a major hand in what was going on. And there are many times where we see that there is a caring hand that is looking over society. So we can't just dismiss all of that, because it doesn't appear that this is an evil being, but simply a being that is very harsh in his methodology at times. Well, other times very kind and caring, because Adam was created and said it put all of their goodness into Adam. Well, they couldn't put goodness into Adam unless there was goodness in them to put into Adam. The problem wasn't the goodness, the problem was the ignorance. But the ignorance that Yaldabaoth Yahweh had was because his mother cast him out of the immortal realms and then put a veil between them, so they did not know about her creation that came in unnaturally, and the creation didn't know about them either. So she is really at fault here, because she didn't allow her son to have that opportunity to know what was really in the universe. Things might have been different, but it is the way it is, and the invisible spirit knew all things going on, allowed it to happen, so there was something important in this. In this is the opportunity for redemption. Now, we could go the way of being arrogant once we understand what's going on out there, and we see examples of it all the time. When the subject of God is brought up, or the subject of the flat earth is brought up, instantly people have a reaction. More so with the flat earth than with God. But when you bring this up, people have a reaction. And instead of saying, oh, I didn't know that, people get angry and arrogant. And we need to be humble and realize that there might be more things in the universe that are taking place that we aren't aware of. And if we can do that, we learn a lot more. So we have a whole mix of individuals running around here on Earth that are trying to express the truth, but running into the wall, so to speak, of those who are arrogant because they don't even want to hear the truth, and the two are clashing together. We just need to keep spreading the truth, my friends. We just need to keep our minds open to understand. What is the actual shape of the earth? Well, I don't know. And I'm not going to tell you I know 100% because I don't know. But I'm pretty certain that it isn't what we've been told by the members of NASA and by the science community of the Masons and the Illuminati and the Jesuits. I'm pretty certain it's not that. And I'm going to go more with the idea that the religions and the spiritual teachings in Enoch and the words of Jesus all clue us in that the earth is a flat system, a flat enclosed system created by a being that comes from another realm and created this realm, and from that all things proceeded. Chaos comes from that, because when you create something and it's out of ignorance, the things that you created are created out of ignorance, but they still have the opportunity to evolve. And when Yaldabaoth was made aware, or Yahweh was made aware, that there was a higher power, he could have easily embraced that, but he chose not to. But all of the beings that were created by Yaldabaoth, they also had that choice. And therein could have been more battles take place. This could be where we hear of the rebellion, the battles between the angels, because some of them understood and some of them wanted to side with Yahweh. They said, nope, we're not going to look at things because we are with Yahweh, because they wanted the power. So the whole story is bigger than we realize, and we need to really take a good look at this and not just throw it out. If you're willing to throw it out, then maybe you're not ready to look at this information. There shouldn't be the fighting. There should be a quest for knowledge, and there's a lot out there. So that's my take on this. If people think that I'm a bit wacky because I'm looking at this subject, I care this much about you thinking that I'm wacky. I don't care. I only care about seeking out the truth and understanding what truths are out there. I don't have an interest in being ignorant, because there probably have been times in my life where I have been ignorant of things, but I've grown past that. And I'm hoping to not be in a state of ignorance as I move forward, just as many others are hoping not to be in that state. And we have all the clues and all the ways to move about that, and humility is a big part of it. So if we humble ourselves to understanding that this is a big universe, a big cosmos, and we open our mind to understanding what is out there, I believe that is what we are intended to be and to do. To understand the fullness, to understand the pleroma, what is really going on, so that we can evolve. And maybe that's what everyone's waiting for. Maybe that's what we're all waiting for. I believe we're the ones we're waiting for ourselves to wake up to all of this. So, if any of that made sense, great. If it didn't, well, it is what it is. And I'm going to move on to our channeled reading for today. This from Quan. Here we go.
Spiritual Beliefs, Chuanyin, February 24, 2016. Channeled by Daniel Scranton. It is I, Chuanyin. When it comes to your spirituality, there is a tendency amongst humans to put yourself in a box. You have a tendency to announce to the world that this is what I believe, this is what I am all about. And when you do so, you tend to think of these declarations as permanent. Whenever you define yourself as something, you are putting that label on yourself to demonstrate where you are, and perhaps even, how far you've come. But the labels and the boxes that you use to define yourselves only limit you. I suggest that you be open to all aspects of all belief systems that are available to you, regardless of what name they have attached to them. Anything that exists can be used and can be used to further your growth. Anything can also be used to thwart that growth because of your desire to be defined. Whenever you talk about your beliefs as though they were permanent, you are in a sense cementing yourself right where you are. But as you let go of all labels, and any need to define yourself, you become open, you become limitless, and your potential for growth is exponential. You are not here to find the right label, the right beliefs, or even the right spiritual practices and to adhere yourself to them. You are here to open your hearts to everything and everyone and to allow all of it to be of service to who and what you are and to who and what you are becoming. I am Chuanyin, and I hold you in my heart.
All right, that was a good one. You know, the idea of beliefs, it can be very strong, and it can oftentimes lead us in places that are very confusing, because sometimes we believe something, and what we believe might not be true, but that person's belief overrides, intelligence. So we have to not get so caught up in a belief system that could be limiting, but be more open to understanding. Because, as I said, it's a big universe, it's a big cosmos, and we don't know it all. We have the ability to know it all, but we're just drops in this ocean. We're just drops in the ocean, and we're looking to understand more and more about our connection to all of this each and every day. Each and every day, all right? That brings us to our meditation, so go ahead, close your eyes, take a deep breath, and exhale. Take another deep breath, and exhale again. And another breath, and exhale again. Now, let's just imagine that we are looking out at the cosmos, looking out at the world around us. And as we look at the world around us, at first, we're able to see only that which is in front of our faces. And we think that that is all that there is. But then as our vision expands, we see a little bit further. And as we see things a bit further away, we understand that the picture is bigger than we first thought. But we get caught up then in thinking that this is all that there is. And our vision expands further, and we see further yet. And as this process continues, as light continues to shine bright, it illuminates more of what we don't know. And the brighter the light that is shining, the more that is revealed. And as more is revealed and we see, we understand the limitlessness of what exists and what is available for us. So we move through the world looking with eyes wide open to see the limitless that exists. We set aside our doubts and our fears. We set aside our labels and our restrictions just simply to observe the limitless of all things. And as we observe that limitless, we find in all things the great Creator exists, not as a being who walked upon this earth, but as a being that exists far beyond this earth, in realms past that which we are able to see, but that which we are able to get in touch with simply by closing our eyes and going inside, where we find that spark of divinity, that spark of the invisible spirit that flows through us. Heavenly Father, Heavenly Mother, Divine Autogens, thank you for flowing through our lives this day, blessing our lives with your abundance, with your wisdom, with your eternal understanding of all that is, was, and ever shall be. We pray this day that our minds continue to see past the illusions of separation, that we understand at all times we are connected, and all we need to do is be aware of that connection, that we might truly see, hear. So let us move through the world today as observers, observing that which is around us, and allowing the light that shines through us to shine brighter, illuminating more and more of the reality that truly exists. So let's imagine and just see ourselves moving along the path, observing life. Let our subconscious mind continue along that journey, observing all that is, and open-minded to see all the more that is, beyond that which we understand and know now. Imagine what we'll understand and know tomorrow. So let the subconscious mind continue on that journey, and let's bring the conscious mind back to the present moment on the count of 3. 3, coming back to the present moment filled with confidence. 2, coming back to the present moment filled with faith. And 1, coming back to the present moment happy, healthy, and whole. Happy, healthy, and whole. Take another deep breath. Exhale, and open your eyes. All right, my friends, that's it. Thank you very much for being here today. I know I rambled on a little bit. I like to do that from time to time. I see everything as being much simpler than it actually is. And the only thing that gets in the way of moving forward with that simplicity are the fears and the doubts that are around us. There's plenty of those in this reality, in this visible physical world. But we have the opportunity to move past them. We can move past that simply because we have this spirit, this undeniable spirit that flows through us at all times. So let's connect with that, my friends, and we'll realize that we're all connected in ways beyond what we could imagine. That's it, my friends. I'll be back tomorrow. We'll wrap up the week. Till then, have an awesome day. I love you. Keep loving each other, and I'll talk to you soon. Peace. I'm out of here.